The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I know what you're thinking. Louie T, it's 2 in the morning. What are you doing? Great question. So I told you I wouldn't abandon you. Today's a pretty big day, or yesterday was a pretty big day, right? Life happens. Life be lifing. And we had some family time, and I'm going to have more family time. It is Mother's Day weekend. Shout out to all the moms out there who make this world go round. Happy Mother's Day to you in advance. Hopefully you'll hear from me on Sunday. My plan is to get back home Sunday night and jump on here with you guys. If not, maybe another one of these type streams on Sunday night into Monday morning. Who knows? Because we're going to recap all of rookie minicamp. So I told you I'd be back to fill you in on day one of rookie minis, talk about what DQ had to say if it was pertinent. It really wasn't. So I didn't come back. But we heard from a couple of the players. I would assume we'll hear from another 2 of them tomorrow because there's 3 days of rookie minicamp. I'm assuming we'll hear from the next 2 players that were drafted, the 5th round pick, Joshua Josephs, and the first of the 2 6th round picks, Fat Man Allen, right? So I'm assuming that's how it's going to go. And then on Sunday, we'll hear from the final 2, Matt Gulbin and AK is what we're going to call him. Someone told me he pronounces his name Kayak Manis. I can't confirm that. I don't want to keep butchering his name. I heard some college football announcers call him Kayak Manis, so that's why I ran with it, assuming that they knew how to pronounce his name, but they might not know how to pronounce his name. Look, we're going to call him AK anyway, right? So let's just go ahead and start doing that. So AK, right? So I'm assuming we're going to hear from those guys on the final day of rookie minicamp. But lots of sights and sounds from rookie minicamp day number 1. We'll get to that. It was a strong showing from our top 2 draft picks in potential from this past draft, coming out of the blocks. That's to be expected. I expect both of those guys to be heavy contributors in year number 1. I think Joshua Josephs also is going to be a guy that contributes, not as heavy as our first 2 picks, obviously. I think you're more likely to see, Fat Man be a little bit more of a contributor than Joshua Josephs, just because of this sheer depth and quality in front of Josephs. He's still going to get on the field, though. This is not your ordinary standard run-of-the-mill 5th round selection. Joseph, and you're going to see a clip of him moving out on the field. He looks good. His movement skills look very DB-esque, if I may say so myself. We'll take a look at that a little bit later on in the show. I want to start first by talking about what was said at the podium by the players in particular. We'll get to what DQ had to say a little bit later in the show when we get to some of the different things that was said about day number 1 of camp. We're going to go around the horn, if you will, with a lot of the beat reporters who were out on the scene. We got video, we got some, posts. So we'll start to highlight some of those, take a look at some of those things, and talk about, what we saw or what was seen out there, and what people's first impression. You never get a second chance to make a first impression, right? I talked about this on, I think, the Commanders Kings. I know I've talked to you guys about this here on this channel before, but the way they spoke about Jaden Daniels after the very first day of rookie minicamp back in 2024, I'll never forget it. They were gushing about Jaden Daniels. They couldn't contain themselves. The ball never hit the ground. You knew from that point forward that, one, he was going to be the day 1 starter, which I'd never questioned, but, they were going to do the whole, hey, got to make him earn it, that sort of thing. And you knew from day one, they already knew this guy's sharp, way sharper than we thought he was. And I couldn't have imagined what we were going to get in 2024. But what we heard coming out of rookie minicamp from people who cover the team, who have seen these rookie minicamps year after year after year after year. So they've seen so many of these that you become jaded at some point. But when you see a guy, you know, right? I always talk about us as fans. If you've watched enough football, you see a guy, you know. You don't need to watch him for 18 weeks to know. You don't need to watch him for a month. You see him and you go, shit, he's got it. Whatever it is, he's got it. The beat reporters know. Guys like John Keim, women like Candy Waller, who've been out there on the beat for, in Keim's case, over 30 years. Candy's approaching, a decade. Like, they've seen enough of these to know when they see talent. So we're going to scour through all of that and take a look at what was said, take a look at some sights and sounds. But the first thing I want to talk about is what was said at the podium by the players. We heard from the first two picks of the Commanders draft class, Antonio Williams, third-round pick, and, of course, first-round pick linebacker Sonny Styles. So Styles talked about a myriad of topics. The thing that he was probably asked about the most was how comfortable he is with the playbook. And he was like, yeah, they're just kind of baby, feeding us right now. He's like, only been here a day, only been with the staff a day. But he's like, one thing I can already realize is that Durante Jones and he calls him DJ, Coach Jones, Coach DJ, and, Coach Norton, these guys are great teachers. And they asked him, well, how so? And he's like, they really do a great job of simplifying everything, making it easy for you to understand. He's like, look, we're doing the basics right now. Basically, he said, what we're doing is vanilla. We're not doing anything strenuous right now. But the things that they are implementing, the things that they are teaching us, they make it so easy for you to understand that even a caveman could do it, right? So he talked about already watching a little bit of film on the Minnesota Vikings defense on his own. They did not prompt him to do that, which I love to hear, by the way. Your first-round draft pick is going out of his way to do extra work, right? Extra credit, extra credit, extra credit, right? He may not know what a really dope number is, but I bet he can count up the change in your purse really fast, right? I love this guy already. So he talked about really getting acclimated. Of course, they asked him about the jersey number. I'm going to play you the soundbite on that and let you hear that for yourself. But he explained that he's not a big numbers guy. And, when he went in the room, he saw a bunch of numbers, kind of got a little nostalgic, thought about his upbringing. And then his dad threw him a oop that he didn't even see coming, and he dunked it. So I'm going to play you that soundbite a little bit later on. And we'll see if he ever changed. I don't think he's changing his number, folks. I think this is going to be Sonny Styles' number. And it looks good on him. It looks good on him. 52 looks good on him, I'll admit. And I never was one that thought 52 wouldn't look good on him. But it feels like this is home for him. 52 is going to be home. He talked about something else I really loved hearing him say was, hey, yeah, this is just year 3 for me at the linebacker position. I'm really getting more and more comfortable, more and more acclimated to the position. The more I play it, the more I see it, the more comfortable I become. And so it just kind of lends itself to that whole narrative that we've discussed throughout the entire draft process of he's just scratching the surface. And so he's only going to get better. They're not thrusting the green dot on him just yet. They're not putting that type of weight and pressure on him. but eventually I believe he's going to be your green dot wearer. May not be to start the season, may not be to start training camp, but at some point this season, and I wouldn't be shocked if at some point in training camp, they bless him with the dot and put that responsibility on his plate. As of right now, I think I'm leaning towards Leo Chanel being your green dot wearer right now until he gets more and more comfortable and acclimated with the position and all that it entails. But he seems to be a guy that is a sponge that's going to soak up as much information. Remember, he is a guy that has bloodlines. His dad played in the league. He grew up around football, had NFL coaches coaching him in college. Remember, Matt Patricia was his defensive coordinator at Ohio State. That's a former NFL head coach. That's a Super Bowl winning assistant coach in New England. This is a guy that understands ball at its most intricate and finite, levels, right? So he's already gotten NFL level coaching. So I think it's going to be a seamless transition for Sonny Styles. And he mentioned some of the coaches that he encountered at Ohio State. And he talked about giving his all to this fan base. And he smiled when they brought up the fan base because there's a lot of love for Sonny Styles. And I think he's going to reciprocate that love with his play on the field. But we'll get to the number conversation with him, play you a soundbite from that a little bit later on. We transition to Antonio Williams. And he was, asked about his versatility. Which is he more comfortable at, inside or outside? He's like, bro, I'm comfortable anywhere on the football field. I just want to get the ball in my hands. Let me go to work. He's like, I feel like I can do everything. They asked him who were some of his influences. And he was like, Jackson Smith and Jigba is one. He said he loves Devontae Adams, how smooth he is. And then a guy that I kind of likened him to just a tad bit, right? He said AB, Antonio Brown, who similar size, was drafted in the. I remember bringing it up that they were drafted, similar spot in the draft. That's a guy that he wants to, kind of emulate, model his game after. If he's anything even remotely close to what Antonio Brown was in Pittsburgh, we got ourselves a dog. But I feel like we got ourselves a dog either way. He was asked about his number choice of 14, and it was pretty simple. He's like, this was the first number that I ever wore, 14. I went all the way back to the beginning. And he said, I had a lot of great memories in the number 14, and I'm hoping to create some new ones. Boom. There it is, right? No fancy overthinking. It's just, bro, this was the first number I ever had. I'm going back to the OG status. Boom. So he's not going to switch numbers, I don't believe either. Now, I can't say that with 100% certainty. Number, whoever's rocking 6 gets cut or whatever, or after this season, a number opens up that is more appealing to him. Who knows? He may decide to switch. But right now, it feels like these guys are going to hold on to the numbers that they currently have. He was also asked about, the coaching. Like, how did he feel about the receiving position, and were there coaches that really influenced him along the way? And he basically said his high school coach. He was like, that was the first time I ever played receiver, was in high school. And he taught me everything about the receiver position, the nuance of the position. I can relate to that. Now, I never played football at a high level. I really didn't play football at all in my life until high school. And because I was a baseball guy. I was a basketball guy growing up. And I just loved football, and I wanted to play. My mom wouldn't let me play till I got to high school. It was too late by then, right? But my high school wide receiver coach, oh my God, shout out to Pete Allen, man. Former University of Virginia stud. Shout out to Coach Pete out there. He was so good in high school as our wide receiver coach. It's why I feel really comfortable being able to assess receivers at the level, because this is a guy, in my coach, Allen, who actually made it to the NFL and came back, blessed us. And I'm talking about so detailed, the most nuanced portion of route running. He taught us all of that, and I assume that's what happened with Antonio Williams. And when you get that kind of coaching at that kind of level, it changes you, right? You see it differently from that point forward. So he gave a big shout out to his high school coach, and he also gave a shout out to his wide receiver coach at Clemson. So he feels like a guy that's going to be so good for this football team. I am so excited about Antonio Williams. And Candy Waller had something really, really interesting to say about Antonio Williams. We're going to get to that here in a second. But before we get to any of the sights and the sounds from day one of Rookie Minis, I think it is imperative that you first figure out who the hell is even at this thing, right? I think the first thing we need to do is take a look at the list of players who will be attending this. So this list, minus the last name at the very bottom, okay? The very bottom, Nazir Bowers, corner out of Toledo, should not be on this portion of the list. But every other player that you see here, and I will name all of them for those of you who may not actually be watching, but just listening, these are the guys that are already on the roster, the 90-man roster, okay? So they're here either as rookies, undrafteds that they signed after the draft, or players that were here last year, futures contracts, guys that were undrafted last year that were on the practice squad, those types of players that are already on the 90-man roster who want to get additional work. All right. So let's go through these names. Katron Allen, and it's in alphabetical order. So Katron Allen, fat man, our 6th-round pick out of Penn State, running back. Ricky Trulai is in my barber. So remember, somebody was like, Ricky Barber had 66. Remember, he had it 66 last year. He's got 50 now. He's wearing 50 now. Again, subject to change. Somebody wants 50 after the summer, they can have it, right? Because he's not going to make the team. But that's the defensive tackle out of Central Florida. Can't wait to see what he looks like. This is going to be a fun preseason. I'm telling you. Speaking of fun, Jaden Bradley, wide receiver out of UNLV, he's rocking 86 right now. I think that kid's super talented. I think in 2 years he could be on this roster. Seriously, like no bullshit. If he is what I think he is, and I got to see him, right? There's only 1 year of production. And he was at UNLV, started out, if I'm not mistaken, at Pitt, and transferred over to UNLV, had some injury issues. This guy's he's talented, man. I can't wait to watch him this summer. I think he's better than Ja'Cory Brooks, who we got last year out of Louisville. But the Ja'Cory Brooks has the upper hand, right? He was here last year. He has been in the NFL now for a full season. He knows what to expect. There's no transition for him like there will be for a Jaden Bradley, who's coming in, going to be wide-eyed, got to adjust to the speed and the physicality of the game, et cetera, et cetera. Brooks has already been there, done that. So he should be able to be more comfortable and acclimated. He's at this rookie mini. Tyler Cooper, guard, is here at this OTA at this rookie mini camp. You have Fred Davis II. That's the corner out of Northwestern as a UDFA. We talked about him already. Matt Golbin, center. That's the other 6th-round pick that we had this year out of Michigan State. Robert Henry Jr. This is a fan favorite, a guy that a lot of people think is a really good running back and has a chance to make an impact this summer. Not necessarily crack the roster, but absolutely claim one of those 16 practice squad spots. Chris Hilton Jr., LSU wide receiver, rocking the number 10. Obviously, that's Tress Way's number. You're going to see a lot of overlapping here with guys wearing numbers that are already occupied. Someone was like, yo, this player is wearing 6 or is wearing 98. You think Adafi always 6? And I'm like, nah. In my mind, I'm like, nah, that the two don't have anything to do with one another. But, you know how people's minds wander. So Chris Hilton Jr. is an interesting guy, speed guy. Jaden played with him at LSU. People love to connect that dot, but that has nothing to do with nothing. Like, they brought him in here because he can flat out fly, and we need more speed. And if he can serve a purpose, cool. If not, he won't, right? Jacoby Jones was here last year, undrafted out of Central Florida, actually got some run over in London, played well, if you ask me. He's at this rookie mini camp. Joshua Josephs, obviously, 5th-round pick, edge rusher out of Tennessee. AK, quarterback, drafted in the 7th round out of Rutgers at this rookie mini. Jeffrey Mba, a guy that a lot of people think can make this roster as an undrafted free agent out of SMU, 6'5", 310 pounds. A little bit on the old side. It's 26 years old, but a guy that a lot of people think has a chance to make this roster. I, however, do not. TJ Mag, our International Pathway Program player. So he's the extra player that you get to have on the roster. So instead of us having a roster that is 90, it's 91 because you get TJ Mag, right? On the practice squad, instead of you having 69 players, right? Because it's 53 and then it's 16 on the practice squad. That's why you always hear them say 70, because we have the extra guy. TJ Mag is that extra guy. I'm wondering if he bulked up a little bit. Remember, he was like 225 pounds last year as a defensive end. He actually got some run in that Eagles game, the first Eagles game on that Saturday. He got out there and got a couple of snaps. I wonder if he's bulked up from last year. I would assume he's put on some weight. Hopefully he's somewhere hovering around 240 pounds and didn't lose any athleticism. But, again, this is going to be a fun offseason, a fun preseason rather. And it's going to be interesting to see guys like TJ Mag. Speaking of guys that were here last year, Robert McDaniel, safety out of Jackson State, undrafted from last year. Wonder if he has developed a little bit more in his second year. Timothy McKay, another guy that was an undrafted last year. The guy they spent the most money on as an undrafted last year, guard out of NC State. Quentin Moore, tight end out of Washington. That's an undrafted from this year, right? This is a tight end that is more of a blocking tight end, not much of a pass catcher. So he's interesting to see if he can carve out a niche for himself as a blocking tight end. Nick Nash is a guy that I think a lot of fans low-key are excited about. I know I am. Guilty as charged. Receiver out of San Jose State, was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons a couple years ago or last year, one of the two. And he's here with the Commanders. That's a guy that I'm going to be keeping an eye on this summer for sure. Malik Spencer is an undrafted this year out of Michigan State. He's a safety that a lot of people think has a chance to potentially make the football team, but at worst be on the practice squad. He's a good athlete, and he's a guy that can make a little bit of noise down around the line of scrimmage. Drew Stevens, place kicker out of Iowa, undrafted this year, UDFA, that a lot of people are really excited about potentially being this team's place kicker and out-dueling Jake Moody this summer. I'm more of the pause on that, pump the brakes and drive slow, homie, drive slow. But as you see, he's got 19. So does Nick Nash. Both of them are rocking the 19. Stevens is going to be interesting. If he kicks well and he applies pressure, could he ultimately win that kicking job this year? That's going to be fun to watch this summer. Sonny Styles, obviously, first-round pick, linebacker out of Ohio State, will be one of the focal points of this rookie minicamp over the weekend. Togiai, the guard, Tanoa Togiai, the guard out of Utah, and undrafted this year, who was the highest Ross score player of all the UDFAs this year. He's going to be an interesting guy to watch this preseason. Antonio Williams, 3rd-round pick, wide receiver out of Clemson. Again, much like Sonny Styles, going to be one of the focal points of this weekend with these rookies. Carlin Vigors, a guy that was the ire of a lot of fans, myself included. I'm guilty as charged. Wasn't the biggest Carlin Vigors fan last year. Thought he was soft in the preseason. He actually got a pick today or yesterday. And the first pick of the rookie minicamp, he picked off AK. So look at Carlin Vigors trying to make a name for himself this year. And so those are all the guys that are already on the roster, part of the 90-man roster this team is going to take into OTAs. And ultimately, if they can survive OTAs, into training camp. Now we get to the guys that are tryouts or treeouts. These are the guys that aren't guaranteed anything. They're just getting an opportunity to come out here, run around, showcase their talents. And if they catch the team's eye, they will be added to the roster. Nazir Bowers, cornerback out of Toledo. Amarion Cooper, cornerback out of Memphis. Daniel D., linebacker out of Rutgers. Jeremiah Irby, the cornerback out of Boise State. Verdell Edwards is a cornerback out of Hawaii. So you see that there's a lot of cornerbacks on this list, right? Clearly, they're interested in adding someone. If one of these guys can shine and show something, they're interested in adding a corner, right? Double F, it's a tackle out of Wake Forest. Not even going to try to say that name. Noah Finsky, offensive lineman out of Southern Illinois. Colin Granger is a tight end out of Coastal Carolina. Devin Harper is a linebacker out of Oklahoma State. Bay Harvey is the only other quarterback at this rookie minicamp. So Bay Harvey and AK are your two quarterbacks that are throwing the football at this rookie minicamp. He's out of Johns Hopkins University. DeMarvin Leal, outside linebacker out of Texas A&M. So this is a guy, this is the first one we've encountered on this list that has actual NFL experience. Sometimes they give some of those guys an opportunity. Last year, if you recall, there was an offensive lineman, Tyree Phillips, that was a former third-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens, had also had a cup of tea with the New York Giants, that had actually played in the league. And again, former third-round pick. And he came out to the treeouts last year, and the Commanders liked what they saw, and they added him to the 90-man roster. So DeMarvin Leal is another guy that has NFL experience. I think he was a Pittsburgh Steeler draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was either like a fourth or a fifth round pick. So they're going to give him a little run, see what he does, see if they're interested. So that's the first name here that kind of jumps out to me. Matter of fact, looking at the rest of this list, it's the only name that has NFL experience previous to being at this rookie minicamp. Martez Lewis, offensive lineman out of Northwestern. Ashton N. is a long snapper out of Arkansas. I think that's the guy that everyone was talking about, the long snapper. Deontay Smith, tackle out of East Carolina. John T. is a defensive tackle out of BYU. Shea Taylor, linebacker out of Charlotte. T. Ugalele. So I'm assuming his brother was the quarterback, Ugalele, that was at Clemson and went to Florida State. Or I think he went to Clemson first. Then he went to, where did he go? And then he went to Florida State, I think. Or did he go to Florida State second? And then he went to like Arizona State or some other like Pac-12 school or something like that. Anyway, I'm assuming that's his brother. He went to Washington. Nick V, punter out of Virginia Tech. Gavin Wimsett, a tight end out of Jacksonville State. This was the guy that a lot of people were like, hey, this guy used to be a quarterback, this, that, and the third. Sounds like they're converting him to tight end to me. Caleb Wooden, linebacker out of Virginia Tech, and Jalen Jones is a cornerback out of William & Mary. So of all the positions that I just named from these guys that are here for the tryout, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners. I think that's the position that leads the pack. Let's see. There were quite a few linebackers here. 1, 2, 3, 4 linebackers. I don't think there's any other position that supersedes the amount of corners or linebackers for that matter. They got quite a few offensive linemen, but that's and even I think it's only 4 of those: a tackle. This one says all O-line, and then there's a tackle here. So there's no position that has more players at the tryout than cornerback. So they're clearly looking for a diamond in the rough, so to speak. See if they can unearth a gem or not. So we're going to transition straight from there to the sights and sounds from day one. And we're going to just kind of go through social media, go through people we trust, look at some of the guys out on the field, look at some clips, some quick, 15, 10, 20, 30-second clips that people were posting that were out at the rookie minicamp day number 1. Also take a look at what was said by some out there. So the first thing you see, this is our girl, Seawall. We're going to start with her. She was out there at day 1. And yes, she posted first thing. The weather was great outside in Ashburn today. It was a beautiful day. 75, sunny, no humidity. It was a beautiful day yesterday for those of you in the DMV area. So perfect day for rookie minicamp. But this was the thing that stood out to me right here. This one from Candy Waller right here. She writes, "It's only day 1 of forever to go. But and Candy, how Candy gets down. She said, for anyone that said and wide receiver Antonio Williams is a steal for the Commanders, I can clearly see that." She says, "I can see that clearly. It's just day 1, but I see it." I want you guys to think about that statement because I said this earlier and I was kind of foreshadowing, but you guys know I feel this way. It doesn't take long. I remember Chris Cooley saying this when he was a player and they would bring the rookies in. He said it didn't take he would know right away if a guy could play or not. I remember Brian Mitchell telling the story of Desmond Howard and how they knew right away, this guy stinks. He can't play. He can't play. You don't need long when you know what you're looking for and you've watched enough or you've been around it enough as these players have. For me, I'm a spectator. I've watched it long enough, and a lot of you have watched long enough. You know it when you see it. Candy Waller has watched enough football up close and personal. She's covered this team for almost a decade. She's seen enough of these rookie mini camps, enough training camps to know when she sees talent and she's like, I see it. It's day 1 and there are no pads and he's going up against guys that aren't going to be in the league. Doesn't matter. He's got it. You know it when you see it. All right. That's from Candy Waller. So that's the bag drill. So get you a little bit of the bag drill. That never gets old, as she said, hyping up the players. Make that a little bit bigger so you can see the bag drills going on. This never gets old, man. This right here never gets old. Watching them do this, get excited. Coaches getting the energy up. That never gets old. So that's the bag drill. She put this video up. Rookie mini camps underway. You see guys catching the football. Wow, it was a gorgeous day out. So you see Antonio Williams right there, front and center, catching a rock. So there's a little bit there. You see the guys walking to the field here. There's Ethan K, AK right there, 16. There's our guy, Sonny Styles. Man, he's put together, guys. That 52, he looks like a guy that should be wearing 52. I will just say that. Would he have looked dope in 0? Yeah, he would have. Like, we're not gonna sit here and play the game like he wouldn't have looked dope in a single digit number. He would have looked absolutely fantastic in 6 or 2 or 1 or 0, but 52 fits. It fits. That is for sure. 52 fits. All right. So that was Candy Waller. All right. Now we go on to Zach Selby, who writes for the Commanders, for thecommanders.com. And part of the title that you see for this video came from Zach Selby's article he wrote for the Commanders website. Sonny Styles shined in Commanders' first rookie minicamp practice. And he goes into detailing some of the plays in which Sonny Styles kind of reacted before the offense got into the backfield, would have had a tackle for loss or a tackle for minimal gain. He was just kind of the standout guy. You could see him flying around. And then he also highlighted that he just looks different than everybody else at 6'5", 245 pounds. He doesn't look like any of the other guys out there, right? He stands out. He looks like a man amongst boys, among other things. Schedule release, we talked about this earlier in the day, but mark your calendars, May 14th, schedule release. We're going to be live all day for that. This is Sonny Styles walking out. We kind of saw that with our girl Candy, but here's another look at Sonny Styles walking out. He's a specimen, guys. He's a physical specimen at 6'5", 245. It's part of the reason why you draft him, man. He's going to be outstanding for this football team. So we go from Zach Selby to our guy and a friend of the program, John Keim, the OG, if you will. So here is a look at them, getting under center, handing it off to Fat Man. And I will say there were a couple of clips, a couple of photos of Fat Man that he actually looked a little fat, a little pudgy. But he's going to be really good for us too. He's going to be a great fit. And again, you can see that he's got a great feel for the running back position. So AK handing him the rock. They're going through a little walkthrough here. So that's the clip you just see here of our 7th round pick handing the football off to our 6th round pick. All right. So here you see the 2 quarterbacks. You got AK throwing the football there. You have the other guy, Bay, the undrafted tryout player. He's just a rookie camp arm, but AK, quick feet, quick release. I told you he had a really quick release, and you can see it with AK, man. It's a really quick release. That football gets out of there. When he makes up his mind, that football comes out. So that's AK right there. See Antonio Williams walking to the field here in his number 14 jersey. Keim with the iPhone 4 pixels. Shout out to Keim, man. Wipe off your lens, John. See Sonny Styles walking down to the field, right? All right, so that's John Keim. All right, so now we're really about to get into some real good stuff, right? A lot of really good clips. This is 1067 The Fan. They had a lot of really good clips of some movement and things of that nature. So let's kind of go through all of this. Let me make sure I didn't miss any of it so you can see everything. And then we'll really get into some of the movements and things of that nature. So this was the first one. All right, so this is one I really want to show you guys because I really think so 48, we all know that's Josh Josephs, right? 5th round pick, edge rusher out of Tennessee. I want you to watch his movement skills. He's dropping into coverage. DQ talked about this in his press conference earlier in the day. that this is a guy that has tremendous versatility. He can drop into coverage. He can rush. He's like, we didn't draft him to drop into coverage necessarily. We really drafted him to rush, but the added benefit of his versatility of being able to drop into coverage is something that we absolutely love, and we want to tap into that too. This guy moves like a DB. Look at this guy dropping at a 90-degree angle, getting into this hook zone, right? Look at this movement. So you're getting set. Look at him get out of there, man. You see that? Sonny Styles with, you know, they're simulating getting into their drop, and then Sonny Styles simulating, you know, jumping a route, making a play on the football. But look at him get out of there, man. I want you to watch 48 one more time. Watch him turn, get out of there like he's rushing. Now I'm dropping him, getting out of there. That's clean, man. That doesn't look like a edge rusher who's dropping underneath in a hook zone. That looks like a guy that's very comfortable in space. So Josephs is an athlete, y'all. I've told you that. You know this if you watched him. There's some talent there. If they can unlock this kid, man, I'm telling you right now. I didn't switch it. Sorry. My bad, guys. So let's go through this again. So that's Joseph's there, 48, right? You see him kind of acting as if he's attacking the line of scrimmage, right? That's what edge rushers do. They look like they're coming on that play. They're going to rush. And then at the snap of the ball, you get out of there. You turn your hips. You get out of there, right? This dude's an athlete, all right? You see Sonny Styles and the rest of the linebackers simulating, dropping into their zone coverage, and then attacking the football. But watch Josephs get out of there, man. Turn at that 90-degree angle, get into that hook zone, bluff the rush, right? Act like you're mugging. You're going to rush off the edge on that C gap on the outside. And you get out of there at the snap of the football. Turn your hips, get out of there. That's fluid. It's smooth. He looks like a DB out there. And I talked about his athleticism, his explosiveness off the edge. I'm telling you, this is another guy that, again, and we don't know if he's going to develop. Like, he's still a little raw, right? But the talent is absolutely not that of a 5th-round pick, okay? This is a steal. And there was a reason he was pissed off on draft night when he was drafted, or not draft night, day 3 when he was drafted, because he thought he should have been taken on day number 2, and he should have been from a talent perspective. But when you see a guy moving like that at, roughly 250 pounds, this gets you excited, man. He's an athlete. He's an athlete. So I'm excited about that. Let's go to the next clip. So this next clip, linebackers having to, so this is a gap drill, right? This is gap responsibility. You see the trash cans and the are representing offensive linemen. You got the coach going to take the carry. You see Coach Ken Norton coaching them up. You tell them to get a little bit of depth. Then respond to what you see. Let's see. Then you attack the gap, right? Don't want them backing up. You don't want them taking false steps. Slide. They call those gather steps, right? Read steps, if you will, where you use those steps to see what's happening, right? Use those read steps, if you will, so you can see what's happening, and then you attack, right? Ball carrier declares where he's going, what gap he's choosing, then you go and you attack downhill. Norton's backing him up a little bit more. Watch the read steps, read step, attack, right? So that's all this drill is. You see Styles out here, and then you see the tryout guy with no name, right? 51, no name. You don't get a name when you're a tryout guy. You just get a jersey. So Ken Norton coaching him up. How about Antonio Williams, the punt returner, y'all? I told you one of the added benefits of adding Antonio Williams to this roster is not only is he a tremendous wide receiver,
play inside, outside, gives you versatility. You can line him up in the backfield, throw it to him out of the backfield. You can hand it to him, jet sweeps, all that good stuff. Also, last year, remember when Jalen Lane got hurt and we didn't have a punt returner, we put Mikey back there when we were over in Madrid and he fumbled. We didn't have a true punt returner after Jalen Lane got injured. And so now you have another guy built into the roster that if something happens to Jalen Lane, you don't have to worry about putting someone back there who can't field punts. So this is the added benefit of adding a guy like Antonio Williams to the roster. Not only does he give you tremendous value as a wide receiver, he offers you special teams value, which is it's invaluable. It's what it is. It's priceless, right? Having a guy that can also field punts on the roster, so we don't have to worry about what if something happens to Jalen Lane in game like it did last year. So, all right, moving on. This is warm-ups. This is Antonio Williams catching the football. Nothing really to see here. Warming up for his first practice as a Commander. So get used to seeing 14 out there on the football field. All right. Get used to seeing 14 out there. All right. I think that's the last one. You just got the players walking out to practice here. We already saw this clip earlier. So nothing else to really see here. All right. Last page that we're going to visit is that of the Washington Commanders itself. So bunch of clips, photos. There's Fat Man right there. There's Josh Josephs. So you can start putting a face to a name for some of you who don't recognize these players. Start putting a face to some of these names. See them with their helmet off. Become comfortable with who these guys are. So when you see them, even if you can't see their jersey number, you know who you're looking at. So that's Josh Josephs, 48. He's an athlete, y'all. All right. Got some more pictures. This of Sonny Styles, of course. First round pick. A lot of fanfare. Guy that we're going to definitely be tracking a ton this season. A lot of expectations for him. I'm going to play you the clip of Sonny Styles. More pictures. So the helmets. Joseph's with his helmet on. The glossy look is back. Remember, we used to have matte helmet. The finish was matte. Only helmets that were glossy were the battle black helmets. Now, the standard helmets are now glossy, and the black helmets are actually, the Hellraiser helmets are actually matte black. So a little reverse now. So glossy look there for Joseph's, there for Fat Man, there for Antonio Williams, Tones, our guy Tonio, and Henry Jr. You get a name, right? You get a name on your helmet when you're actually a part of the 90-man roster, as Henry Jr. is. They may give a name to all of the guys that are at the tryouts, just so they know who the hell they're talking to, right? Because you got all these guys out there, and you don't know these guys. So there's Henry, a guy that a lot of people really, really like at the running back position, UDFA out of UTSA. All right. So more pictures. Antonio Williams there catching the football. Get used to seeing 14 out on the field for this Commanders team. He's going to be a huge part of this offense. There's our guy, Sonny Styles, attacking the line of scrimmage. Look at those eyes, the eyes of a warrior, a commander. All right. There is more. Looks like more. Yeah. The tight end out of Washington. More. That's who that is. Tight end out of Washington. Linebacker drill. They throw the little the wheel. You grab it, you simulate making a tackle on that. So, all right. So here's the clip of Sonny Styles talking about why he chose the number 52.
going to play this clip for you so you can get a sense of why he chose the number that he chose. Take a listen.
I'm not really a big number guy. Like, I wasn't really big in the single digits. Like, I like 0. Mikey has 0. So then, like, I was telling Coach Nort, like, when I look in the room, you got, like, London on the wall, London Fletcher, LeVar, I think it was Ken Harvey and Monty Coleman. It was all, like, 50 numbers. And I was like, shoot, I'm going to pick a 50 number. And I was thinking about it. You know, I remember growing up watching, like, Patrick Willis, Ray Lewis. It's like, hey, 52 would be cool. And then my dad was like, hey, 5 + 2 is 7. So that's your draft picks. I was like, dang, that's cool. That seems pretty cool. So that's really how I landed on it. I didn't have no, like, special number to pick. So I was kind of just picking anything. I'm not really a big.
So he basically said, not a big number guy, right? He's like, 0 was already taken. So Mikey's got that. So the follow-up question, if you actually watched the entire interview, press conference, which I did, it was a shade over 4 minutes. Both of the press conferences of the players were 4 and some change. So if you want to go check those out, if you haven't already, you know, knock yourself out. I would advise you to. It's quick, right? It's less than 5 minutes. Just check out, see what the fellas had to say. But the follow-up question was, did you approach Mikey at all? He's like, nah, bro. Like, Mikey got that number. Like, I ain't tripping over 0. So he's like, I'm not a big number guy, but he definitely wanted 0. He's like, but you know, 0's cool, but Mikey already had that. So he already had checked on 0. He already knew Mikey Sanders still has 0. So he did look into it, because I doubt that he already knew, like, he wasn't a Commanders fan before he got here. He didn't know who was wearing the number 0. He found that out when he got drafted here. So he then kind of was figuring, like, well, where do I go from a numbers perspective? He said he went into the linebacker room, saw all of these, you know, numbers on the wall, you know, London Fletcher's 59, LeVar's 56, Monty Coleman's 51. I think he had mentioned one more guy, and their number, and they were all 50 numbers. So he was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I think he said Ken Harvey was the other guy, which is 57. He's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll rock something in the 50s. And he was like, well, I grew up idolizing guys and watching guys like Patrick Willis and Ray Lewis. Both of them wore 52. So he was like, you know, maybe I'll rock 52. And then his dad was like, yo, 5 + 2. And this is that shit we talked about, right? Where you start really getting into the intricacies of numbers, right? This is how people think. 5 + 2 = 7. You were the 7th pick in the draft. Like, that's next level thinking right there, right? From Pops. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell, like, that ain't even crossed Sonny's mind. He was like, total mind blow, right? Oh shit, Dad. Word. That's some deep shit, Dad. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. So he said, you know, all of those different factors led him to the number 52. All right. So yeah, that is basically day 1 of training camp for the Washington, not training camp, rookie minicamp for the Washington Commanders. So guys got out there, moved around a little bit, and I would be remiss if I didn't show you a picture of, because it's not fair. We got to show some love. We got to show some love to, let me see if I can find it. We got to stop. We got to stop treating the offensive linemen like this, man. This is Matt Golbin, everybody. Like, all of those posts on social media, not one post of old Matt Golbin, man. He was a draft pick too, you know. Offensive linemen need love. Don't worry, Matt. I got you, bro. I got you. I've dug up pictures. I got you, bro. I'm going to make sure they know what you look like, what number you wearing, all of that, man. I ain't going to let you just fade to black, bro. They trying to throw you into the abyss because you're an offensive lineman. And it's not sexy to show pictures of the offensive lineman at a camp where there's no pads and there's no contact. I got you, bro. Don't worry. That's Matt Golban, everybody. Matt Golban, walking to practice, man. Hopefully, the future of the center position for the Washington Commanders. All right. Shout out to Matt Golban, our second 6th round pick. All right. So we're going to get to a word from our sponsor. Come back on the other side. Man, I was this close. This close to hitting for another 600 tonight, the other night. Man, you know what? Let me just get to the ad, man. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm still hot. I did win some money though. Hey, like Denzel, I'm leaving here with something. I did put a little something in my pocket, but there was so much more left on there was so much more left out on the table, man. Not happy. Let's get a word from our sponsor, Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. And we'll come back on the other side, get to your comments, and then we'll get you guys out of here. America's #1 sports picks app is available for you to be able to enhance your sports watching experience. Play various different sports, whether it's the NBA playoffs right now, where you can choose different stats to put together lineups more or less on player statistics to create your lineup. You've got the MLB season in full swing. You've got the NHL playoffs. You name it, you can put together lineups on Prize Picks right now. Link is in the description of this video. If you're already not on Prize Picks, use the promo code HMA. That's HMA to give you an opportunity as a first-time user to play $5 and get $50 instantly in lineup bonuses. That's right. Play $5 and get $50 instantly in lineup bonuses. You use the promo code HMA. Available in states like California, Florida, and Texas. Prize Picks. It's the #1 sports pick app in America for a reason. All right. Big shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this stream. Let's get to the comment section. Going Commando. Been a member for 48 months. Celebrate. Happy 4-year anniversary, my guy. Glad to have you on board. He says, scrolling YouTube at 2 a.m. and then, Lou, what the F? Yeah, man. I posted on social media real quick on X, like, hey, I don't know who gonna see this. This ain't for everybody. But if you up, if you a night owl, if you on the West Coast, you ain't doing nothing, pull up. Finna go live, man. I watched that. I wanted to get up here earlier. Got home late with the fam, right? Told you we were out having a family day. And then I came home to some quality basketball. I couldn't turn it off. I told you how much I love playoff basketball. I couldn't turn it off. And it was an opportunity to put a little bit of money in my pocket. So I stuck with that. And then I was like, man, I told the fan base, I said I was going to come back. You know, this is day 1 of rookie minis. We've been waiting on this, like, to just do nothing. And I'm not going to be home tomorrow, right? I'm not going to be home tomorrow. I'm not going to be home on Sunday, right? I'm going to be out of the office the next 2 days. So I'm like, when are you going to get to do this? You're not. Now is as good a time as any. A wise man once told me, do not put off for tomorrow what you can do today. So to hell with sleep. Let's get this done. We can sleep later, right? So here we are. And I'm glad you were, I don't know why you were scrolling YouTube at 2 a.m. Okay. I don't know why, but I'm glad you were. And I'm glad you rolled up, man. AJSTP 003. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, since we drafted Johnson, is there a consensus to add another receiver to help JD5? If we had drafted Tate, it would still be would it still be pushed for another receiver? You mean Williams? I'm assuming you're talking about Williams, not Johnson. But if we had drafted Tate, would we still be pushing for another receiver? Yes, we would, because it's not that we don't trust Antonio Williams. I trust Antonio Williams just as much, if not more, than I would have trusted Carnell Tate. You already know I wasn't the biggest fan of Carnell Tate. I don't think he's trash. I don't think he's going to suck in the NFL. I didn't think he was worthy of the 7th overall pick. Is he a better receiver than Antonio Williams? Time will tell. We'll see. Right? I personally was a bigger fan of Antonio Williams, but Carnell Tate, has more of the prototypical wide receiver size. There's a lot of, things that he brings to the table that Williams doesn't. And there's things that Williams brings to the table that Carnell Tate doesn't. At the end of the day, we'll see who ends up having the better career, but the expectations are much higher for Tate. Obviously, he went top 5. But had we drafted Tate, I don't know if there would have been this thirst necessarily for like, oh, we got to find a number 2 receiver. Because I think your number 2 receiver is already here. I just don't know if he's ready to be a number 2 receiver right now. People would have been looking at Carnell Tate, and this is the difference. Had you drafted him at 7, people would have been looking at Carnell Tate as the future replacement for Terry as the number 1. That's the type of pressure you put on a first-round pick wide receiver. It's the same thing we did with Jahan Dotson. When we drafted Dotson and he came out of the gate smoking, there were fans that were like, hey, he's already better than Terry. He's going to be the new number 1, yada, yada, yada. And, that's what fans do, right? And so when you're drafted in the first round, those expectations are placed upon you. And if you don't meet them, it's rough. And obviously for Jahan Dotson, even though he wasn't trash, he didn't play at the level of a number 1 receiver after his first maybe 7 games. That injury, I don't think he was ever the same after the injury that he sustained, like that hamstring injury he sustained against Dallas in like week 7 of his rookie season. He came back from that. He was solid, but he was never what he was before, right? He had the Giants game that we lost on that Sunday night. He had the first Giants game where he had the spin move that led us to overtime on the touchdown, but he was never really that guy that we fell in love with the first like 6 weeks of his rookie season. If we would have drafted Tate, we would have looked at him as a legit number 2 option right now and possibly the future at the number 1 as the number 1 wide receiver. I don't think anybody looks at Williams right now as, oh, he's our number 2 receiver. I do, but he's a rookie. And I would have said the same thing about Carnell Tate. Do you want to heavily rely on a rookie to come in and hit the ground running? It is one of the toughest positions to come in and play, especially for a guy like Antonio Williams. See, Tate isn't a slot receiver per se. He's more of a boundary guy. Williams is going to be asked to come in here and learn the X, the Y, the X, the Z, and the slot more likely than not. If not, the X position, which I think he's going to be asked to learn that as well, because they want to move Terry around too, right? Terry's not always going to be lined up at X. Cliff is no longer our offensive coordinator, so he's not going to always be lined up at the X like he was when Cliff was here. Terry's going to be lined up in the slot. Terry's going to be lined up at the Z. And so Antonio Williams may be over there, or, whoever they bring in here, whether it's Ayuk or Diggs or whomever. It may be Treylon Burks that's out there at the X, and Terry's in the slot, and Antonio Williams is out at the Z, right? So they're going to ask him to learn all 3 of those positions more likely than not. That's a lot of information to take in as a rookie. And so it's a lot for rookie receivers to come in here and be studs. And I think I don't want to say it's unfair, because that's his job to come in here and produce. But I think it's unfair to put a ton of expectation on a rookie wide receiver, which is why a lot of people, and even if Tate were the receiver that they took, you'd still be yearning for another receiver to be added to this roster. So ultimately, I don't think it would have made a difference had Carnell Tate been the pick, because rookies are not expected to come in and have 1,000 yards or 800 yards. Tate is going to be expected to have at least 800 yards. He was drafted as a top 5 receiver. Antonio Williams, if he has 642 yards and 4 touchdowns, that's a really good season for him as a 3rd-round pick. And then we'll take that next step next year and say, hey, you should be pushing for 1,000 or over 1,000, right? What did Jahan have in his rookie season? And we were cool with that. Jahan, I don't think he ever exceeded 700 yards here. He probably had 500 or 600 in his rookie season. Obviously, he got hurt too, or he would have exceeded that. But we were cool with what Jahan did in his rookie season. And he was a 1st-round pick. So, like I said, I think last year scarred us as a fan base because we realized you're one Terry McLaurin unforeseen circumstance away from, here we go again, right? Now you're relying on a rookie. We were here before, back in 2020. We were here before. Now, it was a little bit, the circumstances were a little bit different because you had Terry. They went out and they had, excuse me, Paul Richardson. He got hurt. They drafted AGG in the 4th round, and he wasn't supposed to have to produce at a high level. He's supposed to be able to come along slowly. Paul Richardson gets hurt, and all of a sudden now they need AGG to step up. And he wasn't ready to do that. Clearly, he wasn't ready to do that. You're one injury away from being in that type of position. Really, you're in that position right now if you don't go get another receiver. Unless you trust the Treylon Burks or a De'Ami Brown, which I don't think anybody on, in the fan base, shouldn't say that. Most fans don't trust those guys to be the number 2 receiver here. You shouldn't. Anyway, if Tate were drafted, we'd still want to add a receiver. Long story short. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. Video channel, right? Lou. Video channel. 52 speed gonna pop off. Defensively, we got one. Yeah, we got one, bro. We definitely got one. And then just listening to him talk, he gets it, man. He gets it. He already understands what's required of him. He already said, hey, it ain't no expectations somebody outside of this building can put on me that are going to be more than the expectations I put on myself. I expect myself to go out and play at the highest of high levels. And nothing that somebody else out there has for me in terms of expectations is going to exceed the ones that I have for myself. Man's already watching Vikings film, and they didn't tell him to do that. He did that on his own. His speed is different. The combination of height, weight, speed, you haven't seen it at the linebacker position ever, middle linebacker, ever. You've never seen 6'5", 245, 445. You just haven't seen that. I'm excited because we might have something nobody else in the league has. A lot of teams have, great middle linebackers. You don't have to be 6'5", 245 and run a 4.45 to be an elite linebacker. Ask the 49ers and Fred Warner. But it sure does help. And nobody else in the league has a guy that looks like ours. If they're running that fast, they're 6'2", 227 pounds. They're 6'2", 237. They're 6'2", 234. They're 6 feet, 6'1", 231. They're not 6'5", 245. Video channels. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Video channel writes, Lou. Video channel. Listen to No More Parties in LA by Ye yet. So I quit Kanye by the time The Life of Pablo came out. I quit him already. So that's why I didn't know what you're talking about. I was like, that one went over my head. I have no idea what that song is. I'd already quit Kanye by then. I was disgusted with him by that point. So yeah, I have no idea. No, I haven't checked that song out. I have no interest, no desire to listen to Kanye West's music that's exceeds where I cut him off at. Now, because you guys have urged me, and Rio said that the Life of Pablo album is actually really good, and I don't doubt that, but I had already cut Kanye off at that point. So I'll go back and check it out just because you guys urged me to. I'll report my findings, but I have no desire to listen to any. Kanye came out with an album about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago. It didn't even register with me. I have no desire to listen to any Kanye West music other than what I've been listening to my entire life with Kanye, right? College Dropout, Late Registration, Dark Twisted Beautiful Fantasy, or Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. What was the third album? The one with Barry Bonds and all of those. I can't think of that album's name, but yeah. College Dropout. That one was Graduation. Yeah, so Graduation. So yeah, anyway. No, I haven't listened to that song yet, but because you urged me and Rio said that was the last Kanye album he listened to, I'll give that song a spin. I probably won't listen to the whole album. Andre 67 Poggers. Thank you for being a member for 51 months. Celebrate! My guy. Andre 67 Pogger says, Joseph looks fluid. Maybe the team's Van Ginkel. I don't know. We'll see. He's got that kind of movement skills, though, right? Andrew Van Ginkel is a different dude, though, right? Like, I think he just caught another pick six against us, did Andrew Van Ginkel. Like, he's different. So, I don't want to throw that out there, but he's got movement skills that mirror that of Andrew Van Ginkel. But what makes Van Ginkel special is the instincts. Okay, I can see how they're blocking. I know that this is a wide receiver screen. I'm not going to rush up the field like a dodo. I'm going to sit here and get underneath this screen and see if I can't pick it off. He just sees the game differently. Oh, they're trying to cut me. That means the ball's coming out quick. I'm going to get my hands up, see if I can't pick this thing off. So the movement skills absolutely give you Andrew Van Ginkel vibes, because Van Ginkel can drop into coverage. He can rush. Maybe that's what they saw in him. You know, I think they just saw the violent hands, the ridiculous arm length, the explosive, first step, the athleticism. I think they saw all of that ability, and they said, this guy is barely scratching the surface of what he can be. But the added benefit of him being able to move could end up being the game changer that we didn't even know we needed, right? We'll see. Could be the team's Andrew Van Ginkel. You might be onto something. Anyway, I digress. That is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Day one of rookie mini camps in the books. So here's how things are going to go. I'm going to come back hopefully Sunday night after the dust is settled, smoke has cleared from rookie minis. We would have heard from all 6 of the draft picks by then. I'm assuming you're going to get 2 more tomorrow or today. You're going to get the final 2 on Sunday. There are going to be more pictures. There are going to be more videos posted. We'll go and we'll comb through all of those, and we'll recap the weekend's activities on Sunday night. That's the hope. We'll see. I might get home Sunday night, be extremely tired, and like after that, we'll do it on Monday. Whatever the case may be, we'll definitely do that. We'll put a bow on rookie minicamp. If you're not already exhausted with all the rookie minicamp coverage by then, because everyone would have done it by then, and then here I am showing up and you've already seen all this stuff, you may not care to see it at that point. I'm going to do the video anyway. So hopefully it'll be Sunday night. If not, it'll be Monday. And then we're going to turn our attention to the schedule because we're going to get that next Thursday. So you're going to get the prediction for that. I'm going to do that on Tuesday. And then we will gear up for the prediction, the schedule itself. You're going to get some leaks throughout the week. The NFL loves to do that. I think we're going to be a part of some of those leaks throughout the week. So I wouldn't be shocked if on Tuesday or Wednesday we find out that we're playing the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, or we find out that we're playing the Indianapolis Colts in London, right? Dan Quinn did say at his press conference that he does want to do joint practices again this year, but he can't say if they're going to be able to do it or not until the schedule comes out. Once they know who their preseason opponents will be, that's when they'll be able to then reach out, contact that team, see if they're interested in having a joint practice, and then trying to kind of orchestrate that. They were able to do it once last year. They were supposed to do it twice with the Ravens. Also, Ravens canceled. So they just did it with the Patriots. We got our asses whooped, and that should have told us all we needed to know about what this team is going to be. We ignored the signs last year. We were so blissful in our ignorance, right? Ignorance is bliss. We were so blissful in our ignorance last year that we ignored. There were flashing red lights, flashing lights, 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 flashing lights, man. Flashing red lights, stop signs, all of that. We ran through all of them joints last year. So hopefully we get joint practices this year and we fare a lot better. That's the hope. But in any event, that is going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys enjoy the weekend. And I will see you at its conclusion. Happy Mother's Day to all of the moms out there. We love you. And we don't exist without you. So if your mom is still here, hug her tight, give her a big kiss, tell her how much you appreciate her, how much you love her. Make sure you tell her and you show her, right? If your mom isn't here, spread that heavenly love to your mom and make sure that you honor her memory and you continue to honor her legacy by doing the things you know she would have wanted you to do, right? And big shout out to my guy Reggie. I ran into Reggie at the mall today. We chopped it up for about 7 to 10 minutes. Real cool dude, man. Taught some ball. Shout out to Reggie, man. And I ran into a dude at the gym the other day too, man. Shout out to you as well. I didn't get your name. Normally when I run into somebody, I get your name. I didn't get your name, but I got Reggie's name today. Shout out to Reggie, man. Had a great conversation with you. So y'all be good. Take care of yourselves. And I will see you guys next time. Peace. God bless. And this is very apt. And good night.